Howdy folks, it's Christmas time yet again, and you know what that means. It's time for me to review some movies. Due to some personal issues, 2018 has not been my best year. So to make it up to you folks, I've decided to review something a little different, something animated. I figured that eventually I'll review cartoons, more specifically video game related cartoons. So since this is my first time reviewing something animated, why not start at the very bottom? For this year's Christmas special, we're going to be taking a look at all 3 of the animated Titanic movies. Now, despite all the infamy that this movie has, there wasn't an awful lot of history to be found. However, I was able to dig up a little bit of something. The guy whom we have to thank for this film's existence is this Italian gentleman pictured here, Camillo Teddy. Prior to making Titanic: The Legend Goes On, Mr. Teddy was actually involved in the making of 4 other movies. 3 of which he directed were all Vietnam War films, and he produced a Mad Max 2 clone called Exterminators of the Year 3000. Now, I've never seen these movies in their entirety, but I have seen footage of them via trailers shown on YouTube. And from what I gather, they're all pretty violent films, or at least as violent as they can be considering what they're about. I would say that Mr. Teddy made a fairly big jump from making action movies to family movies, but Martin Scorsese, one of my favorite directors, kinda did the same thing with his movie Hugo, and that was an awesome film. Also, according to the little bit of info that I could find, Titanic: The Legend Goes On took roughly 3 years to complete. It was also released in theaters, however, it never saw any theatrical release outside of Italy. The movie eventually found its way stateside, but it was met with a pretty bad reception. Since then, the film has gone down as one of the worst animated movies ever made. This is actually the first time I've ever seen this and the other 2 movies all the way through. Before now, I've only seen reviews of them from the likes of nostalgia critic John Schron and Bob Show. So without further ado, let's get this Yuletide blowout going. The movie begins with the main female character, named Angelica, rowing a lifeboat away from the sinking Titanic. One of the things that you'll notice about this whole scene is its wonky editing. Believe it or not, the entire film is kind of made in this way. Correct. Again, from the little intel that I was able to gather, Legend Goes On was heavily cut for its US release, leading to scenes that were completely deleted, scenes that were reorganized to be in places that they weren't originally, and also some minor editing for a shorter running time. Now, under usual circumstances, I would say that we got a neutered version of the original. However, in this movie's case, the editing seems to work in its favor. We then cut to a flashback, and by the way, the whole movie is shown in flashback, where we're properly introduced to Angelica looking at a locket with her mom's picture in it.
Stop moping over that picture. You're never going to find your precious mother.
Your precious mother!
Yeah, it should be noted that this film's plot actually rips off the plots from both Disney's Cinderella and James Cameron's Titanic. The only difference here is that now it's a story of a poor woman with an added wicked stepfamily falling in love with a rich man. Those are not the only rip-offs that you'll inevitably find in this film. You'll see soon enough. Anyway, we get to the grand send-off of the Titanic, where people are loading up and getting ready to sail across the Atlantic. It's also here where Angelica loses her locket, and we're introduced to our main male hero, William.
Need help?
No thank you, Master William. I can manage.
Don't be silly, Nanny. Let me.
After William's introduction, we get to see this family of mice boarding the Titanic.
What have you got in there?
Things that might be useful.
And it's at this point that you discover that most, if not all, of the characters in this movie are all ripoffs. A good example would be both Angelica and William themselves. Angelica, as I mentioned before, has a Cinderella thing going on with her, and she's also inspired by Rose Calvert from Titanic. Though, for some reason, she looks like Anastasia from Anastasia. William has the same shit going on with him, and he looks like the character Dimitri, yet again, from Anastasia. Also joining us in this film are the Mouskovich family from An American Tail, Perdita and Pongo from 101 Dalmatians, Jeremy the Crow from Secret of Nim, Speedy Gonzales and his amigos from Looney Tunes. The list just goes fucking on. With all these ripoff characters shown, I'm led to believe that the movie started off as like a mass crossover fanfiction. I could just imagine him. Mr. Teddy was just sitting at home, probably had a little too much to drink, and he decided to make a little fanfic with his favorite cartoon characters in it. Then, instead of throwing it away, he just made it into a film. So because the rip-off characters are so numerous in this movie, I decided to just call them by what they're ripping off. I'm not being lazy, I just figured call them by what Mr. Teddy wanted them to originally be. Anyway, the captain gives the order to set sail, and the Titanic is off on its maiden voyage. We then cut to this scene where Angelica's stepsisters are bitching about ruined clothes. It should be noted that the dubbing in this movie is pretty damn bad, though to be honest, it's funny as shit. I don't know if it was because the voice actors were all novices, or if they all saw a screening of the original movie prior and just figured, fuck it, we're gonna have fun. I tend to think it was more of the latter. Angelica then gets her ass chewed out because of the clothes.
Pick up those bits of broken china at once, then.
Yeah, that's not being wicked or mean, that's just mildly annoying. Anyway, we cut to this scene where Lucifer and Tito here try to eat Fievel, only for this dog to show up and save him.
If it hadn't been for you, I would be now in someone else's digestion.
What I'm about to show you folks is probably the most memorable part of this film. In fact, this is the scene that made Legend Goes On far more known.
You know there's something you should know, so I'm gonna tell you so. Don't sweat it, forget it, enjoy the show. Working all day, now it's time to unwind. Kick back, relax, take a load off your mind.
I have no freaking idea of what was going through the minds of the people behind this movie, or even why they thought that this was necessary. But here it is, in all its glory. I don't know what to say. Just sit back and enjoy it, I guess.
Party time, it's party time. Everybody's feeling fine 'cause it's party time. Party time. It's party time.
After that little hip-hop ditty, we see William and his nanny having a conversation whilst Gaston here tries to swoon over Belle.
Mademoiselle. Pardon, monsieur. May I still have for one moment?
Yeah, a lot of the scenes in this movie are just straight up awkward like that. I think a lot of it, though, can be attributed to how the film was edited for American audiences. A good example would be this scene here, where Horace and Jasper are breaking into a room to steal stuff, or an even better example where Angelica and William meet for the first time. Right, try doing that in real life. See what happens.
You stop it! Let go!
Anyway, after Angelica and William meet for the first time, we get to this funny little scene right here. That's one of the things that I really like about this film. It's just full of funny moments like this. Don't know if it was intentional or not, but whatever, I find it amusing. So after that silly moment, we jump to William looking for Angelica, but unfortunately he comes across her stepfamily instead. Then we get some more wonky editing with William and his nanny.
Her eyes were like, oh, Nanny, I think I must be going a bit soft in the head.
I know what's wrong with you.
After a few scenes that really don't go anywhere, we get back to Gaston yet again trying to woo Belle. I just want to interject something here. Like in James Cameron's Titanic, there's a shitty and sappy love song that plays throughout the entire film. However, unlike in Cameron's movie, this particular song is nowhere near as bad or as annoying. Yes, I hate My Heart Will Go On. It was like the fucking Let It Go of the 90s. Anyway, we cut back to the deck of the ship where William finds Angelica, and we get a little dance number with the two.
Hold me, never let me go. You're all I...
That dress is really beautiful.
Do you think so?
Yes.
So after their little dance, they agree to meet each other at the party that'll be held in first class. We then cut to this scene where Granny and Angelica discuss the party, and Granny offers to let Angelica use her best-looking gown.
I haven't worn this since my poor Francis took me to the opera for the first and last time. It's about your size. Mind you, I had a shape once upon a time. Rather nice, too. This time to do some alterations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've been calling her Granny because she looks like Granny from Looney Tunes, but she also seems to share some characteristics of Cinderella's fairy godmother. So after she's given the dress, we cut to this scene where the Mouskovich family are looking for Angelica's missing locket. They don't find it, but hilarity ensues as the room they're looking in belongs to Angelica's stepsisters. After escaping that little moment, the Mouse family, now with Jeremy for some reason, try and search for the locket in another room. This time they actually find it, but Jeremy is a bit reluctant to give it up.
Ona Shmona. It's mine now, and I'm not giving it to anyone.
Go out and get your tuchus out there. No more nonsense. It's hers. Put it around her neck.
Yeah, do what he says, or else.
Where do you think you're going? This isn't third class.
Shh, Detective Bradbury, New York Police Department.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this movie also has a Sherlock Holmes ripoff in it, and he's on the Titanic looking for a group of thieves. Namely, these guys right here, yeah, Horace, Jasper, and Cruella. It's a subplot that really has no bearing on the actual plot, it's just sort of randomly there. Anyway, we see William sit and wait for Angelica, and the film decides to give us a montage of the two meeting.
Hoping there would come a day.
Movie? Angelica and William have only met twice. That's not enough material to make a montage. So Angelica finally shows up, they have another little dance, and we get the obligatory kiss scene. After that, Angelica's stepfamily comes in to intervene, but Fievel has other plans for them. I'm sorry, but that scene is just so campy, it's funny. Anyway, we cut to this scene here where the animals are now having a party of their own while Speedy Gonzales and his amigos play a little mariachi music.
Rack your brain to try and figure out
Yeah, it's not exactly trying to sound like a mariachi song. In fact, it sounds more like a parody of a mariachi song. Oh well, it's like one of only 3 tunes featured in this movie.
Look at that!
What, you never seen mist before?
That's not just ice.
Whoa, that came out of nowhere. I see that a lot in this film. Things just seem to appear out of thin air a lot. Yet again, probably due to the erratic editing. Anyway, the Titanic hits the iceberg, the lower compartments quickly start to flood, and William, conveniently, starts searching for Angelica in the third class. I can tell you one thing, those animals are now surely Oh, they're all right. Good.
We got to open the cage or those 2 will drown!
No, not Lucifer and Tito. They only had like 3 lines of dialogue in this movie. Of course they're saved, and we cut to this scene where people are now being loaded onto the lifeboats. While that's going on, we get back to William still searching for Angelica.
Angelica!
After being reunited, they quickly have to separate again as the lifeboats are only allowing women and children.
Go on, we'll be together again soon, I promise.
Fat chance. You're on the Titanic. You're fish bait, pal. Anyway, more people are being loaded onto the lifeboats, and... For real, Belle? If you haven't noticed, the ship is sinking. It's probably best that you get off while you still can.
I'll get in the next one.
I'm a failure, Winnie.
Who the hell are you guys? And furthermore, why should I even care? Well, it looks like we're back in familiar territory. William and some other passengers are still being held inside, so William gets the bright idea to bust out a window for an escape. After that, the captain shouts that there are no more lifeboats, and the ship starts to break in half. After landing in the freezing-ass water, a lifeboat comes up to William so that the child can be grabbed and saved.
Hang on, we can save him too!
Well, he's dead. Nah, he's dead. That water's like 2 to 3 degrees below freezing, and his leg was caught on some debris, dragging him down. He's fucking shark chow now. We get back to Angelica, and William's nanny decides to start a conversation with her.
Do you still have a picture in the locket?
Yes. Ever since my mother put it around my neck as a baby. And
then left you because she was forced to.
Mother?
That's right. William's nanny was Angelica's mom the entire time. What a remarkable freaking coincidence, right? So they decide to go back to where the Titanic had sunk, and they start looking for William.
There's a body out there!
It's not him.
Oh, you're not the person we're looking for? No, it's just that Sherlock Holmes guy. We then get a little scene with the animals and the chef, whom have all apparently survived. Next, we cut to this scene where William's body has been found.
William, darling, it's me, Angelica. Open your eyes.
Yeah, it turns out old William is still alive, despite more than likely suffering from hypothermia now. He and Angelica share one more kiss, and the movie cuts to the sun rising over the Atlantic. And that was Titanic, The Legend Goes On, folks. And I give it a...
Wait a minute, where are you going? The movie isn't over yet. Don't you want to know?
The movie is going to do a Where Are They Now segment. Okay, well, I'll just give you folks the short version. The chef dude opens up a fine dining establishment with the animals. That Sherlock Holmes guy is given a medal for arresting Cruella. Lady Tremaine's daughters get married to Horace and Jasper, because I guess Mr. Teddy ships them. And of course, William and Angelica end up getting hitched. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. So, that was Legend Goes On. And I give it a B for bad. However, it falls under the category of so bad it's good. It goes without saying, the film definitely has numerous and noticeable flaws. It was cut and edited very eccentrically, the plot and characters are all rip-offs, the dubbing is on par with Mega Man X4, some strange and rather awkward scenes, and to top it all off, there's a rapping dog. I didn't give this movie a B for nothing. But despite all that, all of these faults are ironically what makes Legend Goes On worth a watch. I'm serious. Yeah, it's a totally stupid and absurd film, but it's also really funny. It's kind of like the movies The Room and Birdemic. People like those films because of their flaws. Legend Goes On is the kind of flick where you break out some weed or maybe some beer, grab a buddy or two, and just laugh your asses off at the sheer dumbness of it all. One other thing that I'd like to praise about this movie is, for a B-budget cartoon feature, the animation is pretty damn good. I mean, it's sure as hell not Disney or Don Bluth standards, but for a film made on a substantially smaller budget, it looks nice. I would say that the quality is a little above average for a direct-to-video animated movie, and in my opinion, that's a good thing. It shows to me that the creators of Legend Goes On cared about their project. So yeah, I recommend giving this film a watch. If for nothing else, you'll at least get a few good chuckles out of it. Now, I'm aware that Shasta and I are in the minority when it comes to having the opinion of which we have for Legend Goes On, though maybe not. So we've decided to get a second opinion. My friend and colleague Dylan Tomasi has recently acquainted me with a gentleman who really has a knack for reviewing cartoon-related stuff. So I'd like to welcome for the first time on this channel, Mike, Nasty Pro Dancer, Kirchenberger. Alrighty, Mike, it's all you.
Hi everybody, this is Mike from Tomasi Entertainment, here to do a review with Kenny here on the Titanic, The Legend Goes On. This review is just my own personal opinion, you know, so I'm just gonna get right down to it. This one it kind of threw me for a loop there. I was sitting there watching it, you know, just wanting to experience it fully, and some of the music just threw me for a loop. You got rapping, you got the romantic music, and then you got like, don't know what, Italian music just thrown all in there. It like had no choreography with one another, no real lineup with one another on that. The characters were actually pretty good for development wise. I actually enjoyed watching them go through the whole thing. Actually, it just really blew my mind how they were interacting. Though, however, it's the 2000 era, and yes, this was a foreign movie. Not all the voice acting lined up for the dub. I'm gonna say that straight out. Not all of it lined up, but it was still pretty good. And of course there was Mark Ashworth. Some of you guys don't know him, but I actually do. Because I know him from a couple of more modern movies now, which he came out of Logan as one of the bartenders, and that just blew my mind. Oh, he was in such a famous film? Wow. But anyways, let's get right down to the nitty-gritty of rating this. I'm gonna rate this a 6, just because of the music. It just threw me off, as well as the dub. It just didn't line up for when it was at 2000s. Like, back when we had 2000, a lot of people could do some really good dubbing, but this one didn't do as good as it could have. Alright, now I'm gonna throw it back to Redneck here, and he's gonna finish up.
Thank you very much, Mike. Shasta and I appreciate you coming here to share your opinion. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? We ought to see if he'd like to give a second opinion for the other two films. Well, folks, that's one movie down and 2 more to go. But can't say I'm really looking forward to these next 2 features. I'll see y'all in the next review.